This set of conversations arose from working with the Gateway Initiative and realizing that in our attempt to connect people to resources, we realize we have lots of resources, but they are often tough to navigate, or they just are not the resources people really need. We invited 4 local unhoused community members into the studio to tell us what it's really like to live homeless in Gaston County.
So welcome back. We're back in the podcast studio. We're with Christy, Star, Eddie, Karen, Shorty, and Amanda, and I'm Dwayne. And everybody in here except Star and Karen and I are unhoused right now, and they're telling us what it's really like to live without a home and without support systems. And we ended our last session talking about this, what we call the SSI dilemma. And we heard a lot of things. Here's some of the things that came up in the last session. Every person here said, I think every one of you said, I'm a people person. You love people, don't you? How many of you really, just let us know, say it out loud, you love people?
Yeah,
I do.
Yes,
So
I do.
think about that. The most ignored group of people in our communities that we want to remain unseen and silent are homeless people. We don't want to admit we got a problem. Yet they're, on the whole, this group, which I think is representative, is they're people. So we're doing them a double disservice by not acknowledging them as part of our community. Just because they're not buying houses and paying rent doesn't mean you're not part of this community. So, or not buying houses and paying taxes, excuse me. You're paying rent in some form all the time, either in your own personal survival or in hotels or something. So we talked a lot about relationships. We talked a lot about transportation. We're going to come back to that in a minute. Amanda, you said something off air that I wanted to ask you about again. You said when you were 21, you were married or together.
I was married.
And did you have kids yet?
Yes, he had a 3-year-old when we got married. I had a 2-year-old, and then I got pregnant.
So you're
Right
expecting, and you got 2 kids in the family. You get a couple $1,000 tax return, and you did what with it?
I put it all into opening a garage over on Trine Schoolhouse Road.
So your husband at that time, you used that money, you invested it to start a garage, and what happened?
His mama died, and he ran it to the ground.
He just kind of
We lived right behind it. It was, you get
didn't
up
have a transportation problem, he could get to work.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the question of something I heard you say. You love doing mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Did you work in the garage?
Yes.
Did you? But you've taught yourself.
My ex-husband, we were friends
But
for a while.
why did you not learn mechanics as a child?
My dad said it was a man's job.
Okay. So here we've got long-held stereotypes, biases as it were, that are saying to this young girl, as a 10-year-old, oh, that's a man's job. That's a challenge that we can help address. As school teachers, as counselors, as clergy, we can address those kinds of things.
I done masonry in high
You
school.
did
I can
masonry.
build a house from the ground up. And I love
Yep.
doing construction. And I want my own construction business. I cleaned out foreclosed homes.
Yep.
I'd love to get into that. The only thing really holding me back is a driver's license. I need $155
To get a driver's
to get a
license.
driver's license.
How long has it been since you had a valid license?
6 years.
6 years. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're cutting in every time we come back to relationship challenges. Now, Christy, you're quiet. You're here in the studio. You don't say a lot, but you got some deep things going on that I've heard you talk about. And we talked off air. You said it was all right for me to ask you about this. If I'm right, as I understood, you get a little bit of income each month. How much is that? And she told me it was okay to ask her.
$783.
So out of that $783, you've got, if they're with you, you have 3 kids, right? You have 3 kids anyway. So you got to support 3 kids. How old's the oldest?
8.
You got them 8 and under. You got to provide a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
You got to provide a car, and you got to provide at least a reasonable, safe environment, school supplies, all that kind of stuff. When you have a place, how quickly does it take you? You get paid on the first, third, fifth?
You paid on the first.
So that money's gone before it ever gets to you, isn't it?
Pretty
I mean,
much.
it's spent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, the numbers tell us that for a parent of 3, you need to be making about $14 an hour to live, even to survive.
Right.
And certainly at 770, you're not going to be able to do that. How do you handle it when you have a home and you're trying to make that work? How do you make it work?
I have a payee and I have a guardian.
Yep.
And so they make sure that, what bills I do have are paid on time and, we going forward.
Yeah. So what bills do you have monthly? You've probably got, if you're paying some rent somewhere, if you're doing that, and then you've got like a phone.
Phone bill, I have phone bill, hygiene products,
Right.
Stuff that I need for
Yeah.
myself.
Food.
Food.
Do you qualify for any food stamps?
I do, but I get very low amount because of my income.
Right. So even with your children at home, you still get probably less than $200 a month food stamps.
Right.
Yeah. So with 3 kids and maybe $180 food stamps max.
Right.
Do you get that much with 3 kids there?
No.
You don't.
No.
What do you get with 3 kids there typically?
When I did have my kids,
Yeah.
I had $297.
$297.
Yeah.
So about $75 a week
Right.
to feed 4 people. How do you use the local food pantries and crisis ministries and places like that when you're surviving on such a small amount of money?
Like at nighttime, they have this some services like church ministries. You go there, eat, have a church service. Salvation Army fees like at 5:30.
Right.
There's different places that you can go.
Yeah.
And the main one I do go to and I really love is Joyce Bay Street Ministry on
Oh, Miss Tilly.
West Main Street.
Yeah, Gaston Street Ministries.
West Main.
West Main,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah.
There's places out there you just have to reach them and
That's right.
do what you got.
That's right.
And they are a really big help to Dwayne.
Yeah.
Because I also go down there every evening.
You go down to Gastonia with Miss
Joyce
Tilly.
Williams
Yeah.
On West Main.
Yeah. She loves people, doesn't
Oh,
she?
yes, she
She
does.
loves people.
Yes,
And she
she
feeds anybody that walks in the door. And loves them. She does.
I found a new resource
Yeah.
out that I did not know about. The domestic violence shelter buys groceries. And since Salvation Army doesn't feed on the weekends, they will bring you groceries.
Will they?
Yes,
On
they will
weekends?
make sure you have food whenever you need it. You don't
Okay.
have to be a resident or anything. You
What
can't.
about men? Because
Yes.
you think of women in domestic violence
Yes,
often.
if it's groceries or something like that, yes.
Okay.
I just had a domestic violence class while I was in jail this time.
Okay.
And the Salvation Army also just lets you take showers on Monday through Thursday, and you gotta pretty much
Time limit. You got like
figure
10.
out where you're gonna take a shower at on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
So let me ask you a hard question. Gaston County has, at last count, over 700 churches. How do you feel about having all these churches and still having to be without a place to sleep? Talk to me.
Yeah.
Out of the 700, how many of those churches are operational?
They're all functioning. Some of them are small.
Right.
Some of them are real small. Some of them are real big. Some of them have opened and closed and reopened. So what are your thoughts about, okay, we got that many people that claim to be followers of Christ, because almost all of them are Christian churches. There's one Muslim Islamic center and one Jewish synagogue. The rest are Christian churches.
Right.
And of course the core values of all 3 religions are caring for the poor. How do you feel about having that many churches, that many church people, and you're still homeless in this community? How's that make you feel?
It's a crock of shit.
Okay.
Just like all the abandoned buildings that's just been sitting here. And we got all these government grants to help. What the hell? Where's the money going?
Yeah. So that's it, and I hear that. I absolutely.
And I
hear
love the
that.
Salvation Army, but they just opened another store for donations that they get to sell.
Yeah.
Well, people can be skeptical, as far as church boards go.
Right.
Because you're supposed to accept whoever walks through the door. And sometimes that's not always the option because of maybe what somebody else told them before you got there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They already threw you under the bus
Before you got in the door.
church. Oh, he's gonna come in here and he's gonna be on drugs. He's gonna be drunk. He's gonna still you don't wanna let him stay here when you're supposed to just invite the person on in and see for yourself and don't pass judgment on somebody because of what somebody else told you.
I
So-
think-
And that's one of the bigger issues
Yeah,
for a
And
lot
that's-
of people.
that's
Yeah.
The men, the men,
the men
anyway,
especially.
the men
Yes.
especially.
Yeah, and you know, we want to be as kind as we can, and this is, again, this is about open discussions and having more people at the table.
Sure.
Right.
Part of sometimes the problem is sitting on both sides of many fences. I'm lucky, but you have to understand, every time you go to an organization or somewhere like that, the first thing they want to do is have a piece of word, pass out a tract, and a piece of prayer.
Right.
And if you don't fall, I had a gentleman tell me last week, he said, I'm agnostic. He was getting help from somewhere. He said, but somebody gave him a cross, which he didn't have a problem with. He said, I believe in some. I'm just, I got my own reasons why. And he had some stories. But he also said, a lot of the help that he was finding was, again, faith-based with condition of help. When people come through the door and they want to eat, don't necessarily mean they want a piece of prayer. Like I said, we got 24/7 pretty much everything, internet, and we got, 5 gig and all this other technology,
Right.
Right.
but we don't have no weekend showers.
Right.
We got domestic violence programs, but not enough safe housing and how to navigate that court system, male and female.
Right.
Like you said, you pointed out, you get a certain amount of money, then if you get subsidies, how to get past all that and turn that into home ownership if possible. How to turn it into not having to go, and we thank Salvation Army, whatever
Right,
places, the lady
Right.
that was spoke about, other organizations, people that hand people stuff on the street, people
Right.
that go out that way. We need all of that. But at the end of the day, Christy shouldn't have to leave her home to go get a meal.
Yeah.
We want her to stay home, cook with her kids, her family,
Yeah.
and then let that space be for somebody else that needs to come there.
Right.
Not saying you ain't welcome, please don't hear that, it's you welcome. But I thought we was supposed to be helping her. She don't wanna leave her home. And what if you're not able to walk to these places? What if you're not
Right.
able to get to these places?
When Karen said that about not being able to walk, every voice or hand in the room went up. I can't, you can't navigate that. You use a walker, don't you, Shorty?
That's my escalator.
So, your escalator. So here's a quick question, then I want to ask you, there'll be a reason to ask it. About how many years have you been in and out of homelessness?
About 6 years now.
So 6 years, about how many years, Shorty?
This is my second year.
So 6 years, 8 years, how many years?
To do the math on it, when I came home, I got in a relationship. I stayed in a relationship for almost a year, and I've been home almost 4 years. So I would say like maybe almost 3 years.
So about 11 years experience at it. Christy, how long have you struggled with it? Did you grow up in and out of homelessness, or has it been a challenge as an adult?
It's been a child as an adult off and on for 6 years.
So we got 8, 11, 6. We got 17 years of experience. Here's the question. God bless all those people who are doing what Miss Tilly does. God bless the Salvation Army. Even that money they make in those stores goes back in to supporting the Shelter of Hope. That's great. Those are designed to be crisis assistance. They help in a crisis. What agency, what group in this community helps you get down to the core and come out and make a real substantive, lifelong change? What group? Anybody come to mind?
I mean, Salvation Army has made a difference in my life.
Sure.
Mr. Mills, awesome.
Wonderful.
Awesome man.
Yeah.
Miss
but they're-
Peggy, Miss Ricky, like I said, Pat, man, that's my family.
And their design is to help you get stabilized.
Yeah.
But who's helping you? Who's picking up when they finish?
I mean,
You're on
there's
your own.
nobody.
You're on your own.
You're
Exactly.
on your own. Once you leave the Salvation Army or you leave the ministry that you're attending, it's a toss-up.
So what would you say to people who have said this to me? Church people, non-church people, all kinds of people. They say, hey, they get 90 days at the Salvation Army. Why can't they stand on their own? What would you say to that? How would you answer that? What's the big thing the things that keep you from coming out of there.
It's different for different people.
Right,
Right.
Me,
situational.
myself personally, if I could get in and stay for 90 days and be right there uptown and get it and have a job on a bus route, like I say, and not to toot my own horn, I'm a good manager of money. And
Right.
I'll get my stuff together. That's why I want to file my income tax. Whatever I get on my return, I'm getting a car and
Yeah.
I'm getting a place and I'll have a job and my homeless situation will be over. I'm not on any drugs or anything. And that's why it's so hard for me to deal with. And I was born and raised here. I know everybody in the whole city.
Right.
So for me not to be able to have a friend that I've been knowing, I'm 47 years old.
Yeah.
And I don't have an enemy nowhere in Gaston County because I haven't wronged anyone in Gaston County.
Right.
So it shouldn't been a problem for me to come to you, Karen, and be like, hey, now you know we went to school together. I'm messed up. I ain't got nowhere to go. Can I come? You know, that type of thing. But it's not like that because I don't see none of the people. And when I say none, I mean none of the people
Yeah.
so
So
that
what?
I grew up with or went to school with.
Yeah.
And I think, Mr. Dwayne, you know,
Excuse me.
you have to understand something. You are an exception. And there's no disrespect of folks, they think they're doing well. And they
Oh
are.
yeah, they are.
But here's the thing, we come back to that where you're making a choice. Some folks never had life skills.
Right.
Some people don't know how to get from point A to point B. And alcohol, drugs, and mental illness changes some of those things.
Right.
You said, what would they do? Okay, well, let's take all the money away and the homes away and the cars away, and then you'll see what folks will do. Again, going back to, well, it's a choice. Well, you know, some say, well, we shouldn't be obligated to feed folks, you know, after a certain period of time. Plus, again, you know, many people wear different hats to come through those doors.
So
There's a community we haven't even talked about, which, say what you want to, I'll represent them this morning, the LGBT community.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ballgame that's
Yeah.
connected with this right here, you know.
yeah.
That a lot of times keeps people from going through those doors that we spoke about. That keeps people from getting that help. They may not be on drugs, but, you know, they don't look like everybody else looks.
Right.
And that can be a problem in itself.
Right.
Okay, the expectation that when you're gonna come from incarceration a long period of time, truly, you got an ulterior motive. You come through the door because in normal circumstances, we have to realize something. If we didn't know Eddie,
Yeah.
he walked through the door, how many people gonna clutch their pocketbook, hold put their hands over their
sure.
pocket?
Right.
Now, probably there's a chance one of everybody else gonna get him for Eddie probably would, but
Yeah.
you know, we gonna get the blame for what we do. Like I said, we
And you
hear about.
can't, you can't see Eddie, but he's how 6 feet tall?
Almost 6'2".
6'2", African American male. Eddie, you ever been walking down the street dressed just like you're dressed today? Nobody would know you don't have a home. Your t-shirt's brand new. You ever been walking down the street and somebody go across the street to keep from facing you? Somebody clutched their purse?
Not recently. I had a lady. I was going to the car at the grocery store. I ain't gonna call the name, but I was going through the parking lot and this white lady got in her car and she slammed the door and locked it real fast.
Yeah.
Like I was gonna
Yeah,
try to.
afraid you're gonna hurt her.
Yes, sir.
Because there was a narrative in this country that still was and is a narrative in this country.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt. I just
Yeah.
want to throw this in there, and this is one of
Yeah.
my sayings. Just because you're homeless, you don't have to look the part. You know?
Yeah.
And
Right.
That's why I try to keep myself shaved and keep my clothes up to par because
Yeah.
I don't want you to look at me and be like, okay, he's homeless because he's got a big beard, hair nappy, clothes dirty. Clothes dirty. And they say that people are more apt to help you when you're trying to help yourself. It may sound corny, but it's true.
It's true.
You know, and
It
if
is.
I'm clean shaven and I'm out here and I'm looking for a job and I'm filling out applications, and I'm looking like presentable
Yeah.
in society's eye, you know what I'm saying? People will help you more, and that's my
And the
motto. That's
down-
why I like to keep myself.
One of the
you know.
downsides of that I hear is people go, well, Eddie looks fine. Why can't he
He's-
find work?
Exactly.
So you're doomed if you do, doomed if you
Well,
don't.
that's
Exactly.
it. If you see someone standing on the corner, most people be honest. Just be honest. If you see somebody they standing on the corner, they well groomed, and
Right.
they might have a sign out or whatever, you be like,
ain't no way he homeless.
Look,
Yeah,
I
they're looking for your
had
bins sitting around.
Yeah.
They,
And that's
the,
what
the
that's
expectation
good.
is that you want us out. If I'm giving money, and I say I society, if I'm giving, I want you to show me the story I'm looking for that I'm not.
Right.
in.
So
Right.
you want
They
that
don't understand.
person to look the part.
People-
But no, I'm not gonna look the part.
People don't understand
That
that
hurts your confidence
I
and
mean-
everything. No.
we dumpster dive. We get in clothing bins.
I haven't quite
I
done
mean,
that.
I shrimp boat. That I mean, you can get in there and they put the food in there. It's perfectly fine. Make sure you look at the receipt so you don't get some old chicken livers. But
Right.
I mean, because that's not a
That
good
sounds like a
feeling.
voice of experience.
Yes, sir. Tony's ice cream. They put their stuff in there. I mean, I had a guy hanging out at the tent. I had a fire pit in there. This before they destroyed it the first time. He didn't know what he was doing. I said, why don't you go fetch you something to eat? And he said, well, go with me. I said, my guy's that at the time. I said, he comes back, he will kill you. I said, no. I said, you're going to be out here on the streets? I said, go to Tony's and get us something to eat. He's gone 30 minutes. It's not a 2-minute walk. And come back with nothing. I said, all right. I went down there. It was actually a really good night. They had probably 15 or 20 bags, I guess, where they messed up food.
Yeah.
Or somebody just didn't come and get it. Hamburgers, hot dogs, corn dogs. I come back with liver mush. I could feed a village. I come back and set the box down. I said, that's how you do that.
That's right.
And people are looking at you. They look at you crazy.
Yeah.
It don't bother
So
me.
you're talking about unpicked up orders,
Mhm.
probably is what it was.
Yes.
That ended up, or whatever, and they ended up behind there. How do you? Well, let me come back to that because I don't want it to get derailed. I want to real quick come back to Christy and Shorty. Shorty, do you get any kind of support, any kind of SSI? Nothing. Shorty's shaking her head. Can y'all hear that rattle?
No.
Okay.
I'm a disabled vet.
But you're a disabled vet.
Yeah, but
So I got somebody here that served our country, but we can't seem to help you get on your feet. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But back to Christy. Christy, what do you say to somebody that says you just need to give those kids up? You can't if you can't feed them, don't make them. What would you say to somebody? Because I get told that. So what would you say to that? Or has that ever been said to you?
Actually, not yet. But I've had somebody, matter of fact, day before yesterday, came up to me and said, oh, I thought you had your babies. What happened? Or like disrespectful, with the attitude. And I was like, I'm still fighting for my kids. Yeah, they're not with me right now. And I've said I've had people say I'm an unfit mother, but to me, I think I did right when I know I was about to be homeless, and I know that I would really have nowhere to go. My family gave me up when I was 13. I was in foster care myself from 13 to 18.
Do you have any idea how many foster homes you were in?
I was in 3.
3. Were they positive experiences or were they negative?
One was negative, and the other 2 was positive.
Okay. And do you have any contact with those foster families now, those parents?
I have 2.
Do you?
Yes.
Well, that may be a little too personal.
Well, you go ahead. And
What
talk to
if you
me.
don't want to
I'm glad
answer it? Just
you
tell us.
how I feel.
What do they say to you about about getting back on your feet?
The only thing they told me, well, one of them was that whenever I did do my SSI, when I finally got approved for my SSI, they said to stay positive and do what you have to do.
Right.
That's what they told me.
And the SSI versus disability, it's not as much as disability because you've not worked as many years as somebody who goes on disability after 20 years of
Right.
working.
Right.
And it's usually never more than $700-800 for anybody. The number I see a lot is $678 that a lot of people have. So all that being said, what we want to do is come to a breaking point here in a few minutes. We got about 5 more minutes on this cast. I want to ask this question related to relationships. I've heard several of you say, I just need to be somewhere else. I just need to relocate. I need to get out of town. I hear that over and over and over with people who are unhoused chronically. What's the reason for wanting to get away? What and how many of you feel that way? If I could just get to, so I'm seeing all 4 hands go up. So Christy, what is it that will be different? First of all, where would you go? Where do you think? Where would you like to go? And what would be different there?
I I really haven't thought about it.
Smoke on it a minute. Let me go around the room.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
Go
Eddie,
back to me.
where would you go and what would be different? Have you thought about it?
Yeah.
What would be? Where would you go?
I go west, California, Vegas, somewhere out there, and I already did some of the research. They have labor finders out there. I had called the airport, and I had a couple vehicles that broke down on me. Well, one of them was in my nephew's, and it was broke down, and they wanted it out of the yard, so I ended up selling it, and I was gonna get a ticket and go out west. And my reason for going out west is because, I mean, I'm at home, Gaston, doing bad. I mean, I ain't getting no love here, so, and I'm around the people that know me.
Right.
So I might as well go somewhere where people don't know me, and I can get a fresh start because they're not gonna be judging me and telling them when they see me going in somewhere, well, here come Eddie, call over here or go in there before he do and tell them something because the people don't know me. That would be my main purpose.
So you kind of reinvent yourself.
Yeah, I would just relocate to somewhere out west
Yeah.
where don't nobody know me,
Yeah.
and I could start over fresh, get me a job, you know what I mean? 'Cause,
Yeah.
you know.
Shorty, where do you think you would want to go, and what difference would be? What would be different about moving somewhere?
That's why I'm in Gaston County.
You
I
came
was
from
in
Columbia,
Richland, yeah.
Richland County. Okay.
And for lack of a better word to put it, he was an asshole.
Okay. So were you escaping domestic violence
Yes.
or emotional abuse, all those things?
Yes.
So you got away from that after how many years?
It's been 15 years now.
Yeah. So you got away from that. What brought you to Gaston? Do you have family here?
I have family, but it's no good.
Okay.
'Cause
Are they in the same predicaments you're in?
No. They only want you to come to them if you got a job or you got some kind of income.
Right.
And I'm not a charity case.
Right. Right.
And I do work. Even though I can't do much, I work
Right.
when I can.
Have you worked with vocational rehab? Have they worked with you?
No.
We're gonna talk about that off air. That may be a step for you.
Okay.
Amanda, I heard you say it first about wanting to move. Where would you go and what would be different?
Like I said, I've been to Charlotte. My brother actually lives in Charlotte, and I mean, Asheville.
Yeah.
I know I can make it in Asheville.
Talk about that a minute. What's different up there? Because you've been there, right?
Yes.
Why didn't you make it there? But what's different there?
Well, like the first time, it was a lot. I mean, I had my 4-year-old up there. Me and her daddy went up there, start over, get out of methadone clinic, just completely start over. That's after I come back from Charlotte, from Cascades. DSS closed our case and everything. We were good to go. And when we got up there, there's no shelters, and this is the only issue in Asheville.
Yep.
There's no shelters for families. Like, even the Salvation Army, if you're married and have kids, the husband stay upstairs and the wife and the kids stay downstairs.
Right.
They separate them, which is bullshit.
Well, they've got, and don't you think that the challenge with that is just space, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's just so much of that, like the veterans quarters, like she was talking about. She would have no problem with it. They've got a veterans quarters up there. It's 24-hour services. I mean, the benefits they get on in Asheville. Yes.
Yeah.
The benefits are quick. Housing within 3 months. Okay, the last time I was up there was last year. I was at Helpmate, domestic violence shelter.
Right.
And I was pregnant. The job, you can get a job like that. I mean, I come off crack, alcohol, and meth. I'd been on a binge. It was right after I found out that I was pregnant. I was trying to come off everything. I was in a domestic violence relationship, and it just, I shouldn't have been pregnant. I mean, you know,
So
it
you
just.
were pregnant in Asheville.
Yes,
Yeah.
I left because he hit me,
Right.
and I left the next day and went to. It was like God, because I had been wanting to go back up there. Because I mean, with my first one, I had my daughter in a tent for 2 months, and took great care of her.
As how old was your daughter?
No, she was 7 months old.
7 months old, you living in a tent in Asheville or here?
Asheville.
How about the bitter winters up there compared to here?
Oh, it's crazy.
It's tougher, isn't it?
But you have so many more resources and ways to keep warm. I mean, it's great. The tents up there are like houses.
Right.
And I mean, we were staying with some friends of ours that it was a 3-room tent. They had the living room, the bedroom, and they even had a little kitchen.
So answer this question. Here's what we hear from leaders in our community, and I say leaders, I don't want to throw shade on anybody, but I've heard this from people that I consider leaders. They say to us, now keep in mind, we got 796 known children in our school system who are homeless. That's how many we know about. We just did a point in time count last week, or maybe Monday of this week. We'll get a count for homeless under that standard. I suspect 300 or so is what it is anticipated based on the numbers I've seen. We don't know. We got a shelter that only has 60 beds because that's all they could. When they built it, it was enough. But now our community's grown. So what are you going to say to people who say this to me? Well, Chaplain Dwayne, that's good. I know we got a need, but if we make it too nice, homeless people are going to flood Gaston County. What do you say to that?
Nope, not happening.
How could we make them believe that that won't happen? Because shorty, they're going to look at you and go, well, she came here and it's not even good. What would you say to that?
I came here for help, and once I received that help, I'm gone.
Yeah.
It's not a permanent situation, it's a temporary situation, because God gonna deliver me out of this, and I have that faith.
What made you say I need to go to Gaston instead of going to Charlotte, or instead of going to Kings Mountain, or instead of going to Lincoln? What made you say Gaston?
I didn't, my sister did.
You got a sister here.
I have 3 sisters, one is in Europe, 2 is in Gastonia.
I got you.
But the 2 in Gastonia stay in 1 bedrooms. I'm not gonna stay with them.
Right.
My sister in York has a family, her children, and her grandchildren.
Right.
So I'm not gonna stay there.
Right.
But my thing is, this is not permanent for me. It's temporary.
Right.
And like I said, I have belief and a faith in God that He gonna deliver me out of this very shortly. But until I can get some assistance of some kind,
Yeah.
I have nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, no SNAP, no SSI, no disability, no nothing.
Nothing.
I have nobody to stand by me. I'm by myself.
Yep. So you need an advocate. You need somebody to
Yeah.
stand with you. Okay.
And that's what we're supposed to do as a homeless community. I mean, we were family at one time. We stood by each other.
It sounds like that's not the case when you're having your tent torn
No,
down.
not
and those
anymore.
things. So the world's changed. Maybe it's not changed. Maybe it's just revealed what was under the surface. I don't know. But we know that. So what we'd like to do is kind of draw this to a close for this piece, come back and sort of put a wrap around this, spend a few more minutes together, and give each of you a chance to say, all right, this is what I've been itching to say. I want to make sure I get it out there. So let's take a break. We're talking with 4 of our homeless neighbors and trying to figure out, we can't fix the problem alone. We're not sure we can drop in the bucket, but we can make people aware of the problem. If we can make them feel it and see it, I believe in humanity enough and in the grace of God enough that enough somebodies are going to step up and say, let's dig in here. Let's take a different approach. So we'll take a break. We're together. I'm Chaplain Dwayne. This is at the Resource Connection Gateway. You can find all these podcasts.
This podcast brought to you by Resource Connection Gateway. You can find more information at resourceconnectiongateway.com. This has been part 1 of the series entitled, What's It Really Like to Be Homeless? If you're in the Gaston County area and you want to help, or maybe you just want to improve the homeless situation in your own community, we've compiled a list of needs spoken to us by the unhoused members of our community. And they're not things that you might think. They're not money, they're not food, they're not hygienic supplies only, but things that will improve their life, help them get out of the situation that they're in. For instance, family shelter space. We only have 3 family rooms in the county, yet it's confirmed that 796 students are homeless in Gaston County. Bus passes. A functional bus system that runs when it's needed, not just during midday. Safe space to camp, since we only have 60 shelter beds. Weekday shower and laundry spots. Pre-screening for rental applications, so homeless don't have to spend $50 per rental application just to be told no space is available, or they do not qualify for a rental. Phone charging spaces, so they don't get treated like thieves when they try to charge a phone. Reading assistance. when government and rental forms must be signed. People who are seeing challenged, deaf, or just not familiar with professional vernacular can better understand options and requirements with reading assistance. Volunteer advocates who will help homeless walk through the process of re-entry into community, centralized services, and ID card assistance. All of these things would be a huge help to the homeless in your community. And if you don't have the time and you just want to make a donation, you can do that as well at resourceconnectiongateway.com. We thank you for listening, and this has been a production of resourceconnectiongateway.com. Let the Resource Connection Gateway help.